Can you track HRV, heart rate variability, on a Galaxy Watch? That's a question I recently asked myself after I basically realized or saw on the internet that heart rate variability would be something that was good to measure. So, first, what is HRV? Second, why is it useful? Third, what Samsung Health tracks. Fourth, Samsung Monitor. Fifth, Cardiogram. And sixth, an alternative that actually kind of works on Samsung, which is called Veltori. So, what is HRV? It's heart rate variability. So imagine your heart beats, and then you have these classic beats. Basically, your heart is controlled by something that is electrical. So basically by electrical impulses, and these impulses are the ones you are used to. So if you now have two of these impulses, basically two heartbeats, then you have a distance in between those two. And let's say you have one heartbeat a second with 60 beats per minute, basically, then you have 1 beat per second. So now the question is, do these heartbeats differ? So does a heartbeat occur every single exact second, or is there some difference? And it turns out, yes, there is a difference. And it turns out that this difference, so how often basically your heart rate can change within a heartbeat, kind of, so how well the first heartbeat goes, and then the second heartbeat, the question is now, how big of a control do the different parts of your brain have controlling the next heartbeat or the duration until the next heartbeat occurs? And this is called heart rate variability. How variable are these heartbeats? There are actually two systems that are mostly involved in this. It's the parasympathetic. Maybe I should have trained pronouncing these words before. The parasympathetic nervous system and also the sympathetic nervous system. And these two are responsible for focus, alertness, and also for relieving the stress and for relaxation. And these two, depending on how much in control they are at the current moment, control the heart rate variability, kind of. At least the heart rate variability is an indicator. So now, why is it useful? Because it is a very good indicator on how much in terms of, so how much in one of these states you are. Since these two parts of your autonomous nervous system are actually controlling how much relaxed or how much alert you are, you can kind of guess how much alert you would be or how much energy you have left in the tank for the next days, based kind of on the last days. So it's not only, so heart rate is a very instantaneous measurement. If you have a heart rate of 150, for example, then chances are you are either in a very stressful situation or you're doing sport, any kind of activity. But if you now have the heart rate variability, so compared to the beats per minute of the classical heart rate, this gives you a much longer time frame to view your health and your state of health at. So this is why it is useful, because it is kind of an indicator of how you are doing. Imagine now you have a number, and this number is high and this number is low. The question now is, what does this number mean? Turns out a higher number, of course, dependent on your baseline, because different people, due to genetics and also different lifestyles, have different ranges. So if you have now a high heart rate variability, let's say 100 milliseconds, and there are two different measurements, usually the one that is used is SDNN, and if you now have two values and the one is higher, then the higher value is the one that means you have more energy within the next hours, within the next days. And if you have a very low value, this means you are probably on the verge of getting sick. Of course, also dependent on your range again. So now, can you track this heart rate variability that seems to be such a thing? And also people on the internet track it with Oura rings, and also it's possible with the Whoop, which is another tracker, fitness tracker, which doesn't track activities with GPS, for example, compared to the Galaxy Watch, which has GPS. But they have heart rate variability tracking. So I asked myself, do I now need to get something else? Because I do have a Galaxy Watch 4 and I had it for the last months. I bought it about 9 months ago and I like it. Even though the battery is quite crappy, even though it's very irresponsive, very often. Yesterday I was in a gym and wanted to start music and it just didn't do anything for like minutes. So I sat there and I wanted to start the music and I also wanted to start my workout. It was on and then the screen went off again and things like these. Apart from these obvious downsides to the Galaxy Watch 4, the question now is, can you track HRV with the Galaxy Watch? And the short answer is no, you can't. Within the Samsung Health ecosystem, there is no way you can, at least to my knowledge, and I have researched this a little bit, there is no way you can directly measure your HRV. And here is how and why. So the question is, does the watch itself have the functionality even of measuring HRV? And I would say yes. Because Samsung also has Samsung Health Monitor, which is an additional app which also does ECG, electrocardiogram, and also blood pressure measurements. So these two things, especially the ECG, measure exactly these things, and you actually get these diagrams. I can actually show you because I have them already. There is also something very weird because this app, Samsung Health Monitor, is not really available in the App Store anymore, which is kind of weird. So now if you have, for example, a recording like this here, then you can actually see there is a sinus rhythm on there. And if I now actually let it focus, then you can see a sinus rhythm. And this is exactly, I guess, the functionality it needs. Maybe there is some additional sensor it needs, or things like these, which the Galaxy Watch 4 doesn't have. But what I read on the internet is also that Samsung has a stress monitoring feature. And this stress monitoring feature is actually using HRV. The problem is just most people probably are not knowledgeable enough to actually use HRV as something, and also Samsung Health doesn't have something built in which actually would give you the facts at hand which you would then use in order to maybe improve certain aspects of your lifestyle, behavior, and therefore improve your health. And therefore Samsung kind of probably decided that they wouldn't include HRV directly, but indirectly with the stress monitoring. So I guess, at least what I read on the internet, is that the HRV is measured and is used, but it's just not displayed. So the question would be, is there a third-party app which then can measure these things? And again, to my state of research, I didn't find any. I didn't find a solution that actually measures it on the Galaxy Watch and then let it display either in Samsung Health Monitor or in a partner app or in a client app on my phone. So what are the options? There is a app called Cardiogram, and this actually is available for your watch. So this is a Google Wear OS app, and it's also an app on your phone. And then theoretically you could measure things. The problem is just it's kind of the same thing as on Samsung Health. So there is no HRV in the app. So the Cardiogram kind of fails. So additionally, you have the kind of security risk. Every single app you test and then you connect your data to. So the other question is, so there are basically two theoretics. There are two ways you could theoretically measure this thing. If the data already existed and the watch already created the data, then you would only need a data analysis app. And the second option would be if HRV is theoretically, potentially, so if the hardware exists to measure HRV on the Galaxy Watch and it is just not measured with Samsung Health, then you would need something that is actually installed on here and then tracks HRV. So you would also need an app for the Galaxy Watch. And Cardiogram was kind of promising. I searched for HRV in the Galaxy Store and Cardiogram came up, and turns out it doesn't track HRV. What I did find though is something else, and the something else is an app called Welltory. So now, what is Welltory? it's an app that doesn't work with the Galaxy Watch, but it can track your HRV. So the question is now, how does it do it? Again, the constraint was that I wouldn't buy anything additional, the Oura Ring, for example, or also the Whoop, because I wanted to maybe not buy something else, and also maybe not pay for a €25 or dollar subscription every single month for a Whoop band and for the app functionality within the Whoop band. And the same is true for Oura, which is around 300 to 400 of initial purchase money. You have to purchase the Oura Ring, and then you pay 6 to 10 euros for a subscription. So now, what is Weltory? Weltory uses another thing your phone already has. If you have a Galaxy phone, then there is something that is actually very interesting, and it's basically these sensors which you can see here. And if you then, so there is basically a heart rate monitor on here, and if you put your finger on here, it can track your heart rate variability. And it also theoretically, so according to Weltory, according to the science of Weltory, and according to the product pages here, they can also measure your heart rate variability just with a normal camera. But since the Galaxy phones, at least the better ones, do have the sensor, which actually kind of sends an infrared light into your finger, and then the blood vessels can be seen because they pulsate over time, and then it can actually, just from this data, extrapolate or kind of create your heart rate variability. So it turns out you can now, so this app called Weltory looks like this. I could also potentially show it the App Store and the logo to you, but I also just realized just linking the thing would make more sense. So this is what the App Store, the Galaxy Store, not the Galaxy, but the Google Play Store looks like. So now we open the thing up, and if we open the thing up, what we actually can do is we can start a measurement here in the middle, this red button, and then you can actually see that there are lights. And if I now put my finger on here, it actually measures my beats per minute and also my heart rate variability. And also additionally to the heart rate variability, a few other measurements as well. And these measurements are, so I now click on my measurement history, and you have the SDNN. So that's basically the standard protocol for measuring heart rate variability, but you also have a few other numbers, as I just mentioned. And these numbers are, let's click on one of these measurements. Yeah, well, I can't see them anymore. Why? Because I don't have a trial period anymore. So previously there were also these other measurements. Actually, they have 9 different metrics, and you can see SDNN, heart rate variability, and also these other things, which I can now not access anymore because I am not subscribed anymore. If we would opt for the Pro function, so let's get it. There are also different things in here. There's basically the feed, which is the main feed, and then we have a journal, which are basically all of your entries. And then additionally, you have a self-care, which is just guided things like meditations and things like these. And also why make the dark mode not consistent, which is something I don't really like. Also, the font is really, really big, and it's kind of not very, you don't have a good overview. Here is the measurement of you. You can also connect it to different things. So this is kind of the approach of having one app that manages all of your health. So you can connect a time management or time tracking app called Rescue Time. You can also connect Fitbit, Garmin, Withings, My Places, Google Fit, and Samsung Health. And it is very nice that you can directly connect Samsung Health, because in other apps often it is the case that you can only connect to Google Fit, and then you have to use a third-party solution like Health Sync to actually sync the data from Samsung to Google, because otherwise you couldn't connect it, because often these apps only offer Google Fit connection. And then this is basically the Science of You, and the Science of You is also something I couldn't try till now. So it says there are different habits, and then you can, the number 1 health analytics app, a powerful tool to check in, find habits that work best for you. What I also have to mention is that it costs 59 euros annually, or alternatively 13.99 per month. So that's kind of the pricing of this app. I don't know if I will buy it. Alternatives. I actually searched for something like this, for something that would actually analyze my sport levels, like similar to Loop, not to Loop, but to Whoop. So the Whoop, which has the band and also the app. And I searched for something that gave me just a little bit more detail. Previous alternatives I already used kind of, and also not reviewed, but I used for quite some time, would be Strava. The problem with Strava is it doesn't get much data. So there is no data synced, for example, when it comes to blood pressure management, measurement, and also ECG and things like these. So you only get the rudimental activity data from Samsung Health or Google Fit if you track it like this. And then in Strava, you don't really have a good option. Also, Strava costs a little bit, so it costs something. Theoretically, Strava is kind of a good solution for tracking your overall fitness, because they actually spit out like a fitness number, which is something that I miss completely from Samsung Health. And it would be really nice if Samsung Health just would incorporate all of these different features, like having your data all in one place, and also maybe just having it would be nice if it was a little bit more sophisticated and not a cookie cutter solution for basically everybody who just has some level of affiliation to improving their health. So therefore, on Android, I found this app called Valtteri. I will probably use it to at least track some data with the heart rate variability. But I also have to mention, it takes a lot of time, these measurements. So there is a 100 option and there is a 300 option. And I think these record for 100 and 300 seconds. And 300 seconds are 5 minutes. So you have to be still for 5 minutes and measure. And you have to hold your hands still because you don't want these movements, and therefore it's not a very good option. It would be very nice if you could actually track it. It is, according to sources on the internet, like other reviewers and other YouTubers on the internet, it is possible on the Apple Watch seemingly to track your HRV and also let it display in some way. It also is possible with the Oura Ring, and it also is possible with the Whoop band. Since I don't currently have an option for tracking HRV, and it seems to be a very important value, and in the future maybe I would want to track it, and I also would want to track it now since it seems to be this big thing, maybe I will actually get a Whoop band or an Oura Ring. The problem with an Oura Ring is just that you cannot really work out, I guess, because you have it on here or on here, and then if you grab something, it's metal on metal. If you grab a barbell, for example, I think it's just not a very good solution. So therefore, I maybe get the Whoop band. The problem for me is just that I already have a Casio watch on here, or a Casio watch on here, and the Galaxy watch on here. So I would have a third bracelet. And additionally, I think about getting something that tracks my steps whenever I do charge my watch, because you have to charge your watch at least 1 to 2 hours a day, and there you cannot use it. And also, if you do want to have sleep tracking, you cannot charge it at night, which means you don't track your steps all the time. Therefore, at least for me, this is kind of a problem, that the step count is not something that motivates me, because I know it is inaccurate. That was an overview of the potential of tracking HRV on the Galaxy Watch, of the different options that are out there, and I hope I could help you in some way.